Olá, muito bom dia a todos e todas. Bem-vindos ao primeiro AbraTalks, uma série de webinars sobre internacionalização, organizado pela AbraGames, Associação Brasileira das Desenvolvedoras de Jogos Digitais, em parceria com a Flanders Investment and Trade e a Embaixada da Bélgica. Eu sou a Marina Pecoraro, diretora de comunicação da AbraGames, e infelizmente a Helena Russi, que ia fazer essa mediação, teve um problema, e então eu estou aqui abrindo esse primeiro evento, né? Conheça as oportunidades de negócio em Flanders, um novo pólo de desenvolvimento de games e da economia criativa do norte da Bélgica, é o nosso primeiro webinar. Gostaria de agradecer a Cláudia Rolim e ao Dirk Champeller, da Flanders Investment and Trade, que viabilizaram este webinar, e agradeço ainda a participação do Patrick Herman, que é embaixador da Bélgica no Brasil. O webinar será em inglês, porque os participantes são todos da Bélgica, e inglês é a língua, né, que todo mundo vai entender. Infelizmente, eles não falam português ainda. Só para a gente ter um webinar tranquilo, a gente pede que todo mundo deixe a câmera, o microfone no mute, a câmera desligada, e as perguntas podem ser enviadas ao longo da apresentação, só que a gente vai abrir o Q&A só no final, quando todos apresentarem, tá bom? Então, muito obrigada mais uma vez pela presença de todos, e agora eu passo a palavra ao Dirk Champeller.
Muito obrigado, Marina. Muito obrigado também a AbraGames e Brasil Games pelo convite. Bom dia, bem-vindos a todas e todos a nosso webinar, onde vamos a falar sobre novas oportunidades de negócio dentro do sector criativo na Flanders, região que fica no norte da Bélgica. Nossa agenda de hoje é a seguinte. A continuação, o senhor, Sua Excelência Patrick Herman, vai dar as palavras de bem-vindos. Depois, eu vou dar-lhes umas 3 fortes razões por quais vocês podem vir na Flanders, Bélgica. Depois, o senhor David da Flega vai lhes explicar como é o ecossistema da indústria dos jogos na Flandres. O senhor Rory Luft do FAF vai falar de uma parte muito importante, que é dinheiro, né? Vai explicar quais são realmente os incentivos financeiros que temos para vocês. Depois, o senhor Rick Linknecht da Hoest vai falar de uns secretos mais guardados na Flandres, que é o Hoest, o University College da Games, que fica na Flandres. E para terminar, temos a honra de ter aqui também o senhor Calowart, de Unity, que vai falar um pouquinho sobre o que é Unity e o porquê eles têm um escritório na Flandres hoje. Então, a continuação, quero dar a audiência à Sua Excelência, nosso embaixador, o senhor Patrick Herman. Como Marina já falou, por favor, lembre-se de deixar desligado os seus teléfonos e as perguntas, como a Marina também indicou, podem ser escritas dentro do chat. Que tenham um ótimo webinar.
Olá, bom dia a todos. Dirk?
Sim.
Sim, ótimo. Hoje não é o dia para palavras, mas para imagens, mas eu não vou falar muito, mas, caro participantes, a Bélgica é conhecida em todo o mundo como um lugar de bom humor e diversão. Cervejas, naturalmente, histórias em quadrinho, a comida, o futebol, as festivais musicais como o Tomorrowland. A Bélgica é um dos melhores lugares da Europa para entretenimento e cultura. Mas a Bélgica e sua região norte da Flandres também são uma referência global em inovação e excelência. Eu sei que venglorar e gabar-se nem sempre é uma coisa boa, mas às vezes os diplomatas e também os jogadores acabam fazendo isso. Flanders é o segundo polo petroquímico do mundo, o primeiro polo para o diamante, o melhor na Europa em biotecnologia, testes clínicos, infraestruturas marítimas, e mais uma vez a cerveja. Antes que eu me esqueça, antes da pandemia, nossa capital, Bruxelas, era o segundo destino no mundo para conferências e feiras de negócios. Os belgas fazem as coisas de maneira criativa e de maneira confiável. E isso se aplica à indústria de hospitalidade e entretenimento. Em resumo, nós fazemos diversão de forma séria. Portanto, quando o governo de Flandres decidiu adicionar novo item, jogos, games, à sua já longa lista de polos industriais, ele o fez de maneira inteligente e completa, permitindo que a tripla hélice de negócios, academia e governo girasse a todo vapor. E quando falo da tripla hélice, devo falar da quadrupla hélice. No setor do games, inclui músicos, artistas gráficos, atores, criadores. Parte do segredo para aliar inovação e excelência é pense fora da caixa, mas não fale mais que a boca. Think out of the box, but don't talk out of your hat. Então, como minhas credenciais em jogos remontam a Space Invaders há 40 anos e a dar a vida a dois jogadores 20 anos depois, vou parar minha introdução aqui e deixar a parte mais relevante para os especialistas de dos setores industriais que acho nossos dias atuais mais rápido se move e cresce, que é intenso em tecnologia e criatividade. Bom webinar a todos.
Muito obrigado, senhor embaixador, por suas palavras. Eu estava falando nas últimas semanas com vários de vocês e eu lembro que sempre vocês tiveram as mesmas 3 perguntas. Primeiro, a necessidade de ter mão de obra qualificada. Segundo, ter a possibilidade de fazer parcerias, estar dentro polo de inovação. E terceiro, não ficar sozinho em uma esquina do mundo, mas estar perto das indústrias e dos clientes. Então, acho que na Flandres temos a resposta àquelas 3 dúvidas que vocês têm. Primeiro, permite-me explicar um pouquinho e rapidinho o que a gente está fazendo. Formamos parte de uma organização que se chama Flanders Investment and Trade, e somos uma agência governamental do parte do governo de Flandres, que faz basicamente 2 coisas. Estamos ajudando os empresários do Flandres que querem exportar, em nosso caso, até o Brasil, e estamos ajudando os empresários brasileiros que querem iniciar ou expandir a seu projeto de internacionalização. Por isso temos 90 escritórios no mundo completo e estamos à sua disposição depois do nosso webinar. Bom, estava falando de 3 aspectos fundamentais. Um é a localização. Acho que você não pode ter uma localização melhor que na Flandres ou na Bélgica. Por quê? Falando com as diferentes companhias de jogos aqui no Brasil, muitos me falaram, tá bom, temos o conhecimento aqui, mas nossos clientes estão nos Estados Unidos ou estão na Europa. Então, quando vocês viram um escritório de venda e mercadeia na Flandres, na Bélgica, vocês estiveram atingir 60% do PIB da Europa dentro de um círculo de 500 quilômetros ao redor de Flandres. E também vocês estão muito perto de seus possíveis parceiros ou clientes. Isso se explica aqui. Aqui vocês podem ver, quando vocês têm um escritório na Flandres, só precisam 2 horas por trem para ir a Amsterdã, menos de 2 horas para chegar a Londres, 1h30 para ir a Paris, em avião 1 hora a Berlim. Então, se vocês querem fazer parcerias, querem visitar clientes, vocês estão em um lugar ótimo. E, além disso, o custo de um escritório, comparando com outras alternativas na Europa, é bastante barato. Estamos falando ao redor de umas 150 euros por metros quadrados por ano. Isso comparando com outros destinos, onde o valor é um múltiplo de até 800 ou 1.300 euros por metro por ano. Mas acho que o mais importante é o acesso a mão de obra qualificada. Isso pode ser uma surpresa para muitos de vocês que não conhecem a Bélgica, mas consideram nossas pessoas como a terceira força laboral mais talentosa do mundo. E por quê? Bélgica e Flandres é muito pequeno, temos só 13.000 quilômetros quadrados, mas ainda assim contamos com 5 universidades, 2 dos quais estão dentro do top 100 do mundo. E quando falamos da Universidade de Leuven foi elegido nos últimos anos como a universidade mais inovativa no mundo. Quando falamos os scores de PISA, podemos ver que na Europa as universidades da Bélgica salen em primeiro lugar enquanto a matemáticas e terceiro lugar enquanto a ciência. Enquanto a nível mundial, isso se traslada em um 8º posto em matemáticas e um 11º em ciências. Isso significa que um dos seus problemas maiores, a pesquisa de mão de obra qualificada, poderia estar resolto quando vocês mudam ou vão a vir na Bélgica. Nosso terceiro pilar é a parte de inovação. Nosso governo definiu uns focos importantes dentro do setor digital. E aqueles são os 12 focos que temos. E, curiosamente, muitos destes focos têm alguma relação com o setor de gaming. Na metade à esquerda, vocês veem o setor dos jogos. Mas aí ligado está também telecom e web, o setor de mídia, depois o processamento de vídeo e áudio. Contamos com muitos incubadores, aceleradores e a inteligência artificial também é um dos focos. Então, isso significa que quando vocês estão indo à Europa, à Bélgica, à Flandres, vocês estão aí realmente dentro do centro de inovação, com a possibilidade de fazer muitas parcerias dentro de uma distância muito curta. Falamos às vezes que Flandres é o Silicon Valley da Europa. Pode sonar como um pouquinho exagerado, mas vocês devem saber que Flandres só tem 13.000 quilômetros quadrados. Ou seja, Flandres é 20 vezes mais pequeno que o estado de São Paulo. Mas, ainda assim, contamos com 4 centros de pesquisa estratégica, entre os quais contamos com IMEC, que é muito conhecido mundialmente, é líder mundial em nanotecnologia. contamos com 6 universidades, vários incubadores, mas mais importante para vocês, não está aqui no slide, Flanders, cada ano está invirtiendo 2,6% do seu PIB em pesquisa e desenvolvimento. E esse é 1% mais alto que o promédio na Europa. E é por isso que, por exemplo, falando das companhias norte-americanas, quase todas têm sua oficina principal de pesquisa e desenvolvimento em Europa, na Flandres, por a cercania de todos os centros de conhecimentos. Então, isso, em breve, um pouquinho de introdução. Na direita, você vê um pouquinho o que é a cena dos startups na Flandres. Lá vocês podem ver de 2014 até 2019 todas as startups dentro do âmbito do setor digital que já levantaram mais de 1 milhão de euros. Acho que isso já pode dar-lhes uma boa ideia do landscape, do ecossistema que temos, mas dou a palavra agora a nossos companheiros para que expliquem um pouquinho mais em detalhe. Aqui vocês têm nossos contatos de Cláudia e o meu, então não tenho nenhuma dúvida em contactar-nos quando vocês querem expandir ou falar um pouquinho mais em detalhe. Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Dirk. I will take over from here. I'll speak in English, of course. I understood some things in your language, which I thought was already great, but I will do it in English, and I hope you understand me. My name is David. I represent the Flemish games industry. So I'm going to tell you who we are, what we do. I'll have some facts and figures about our industry. We'll talk about our support ecosystem. We have some tax incentives that could be really of interest to you, and some other USPs of our local industry in Flanders. So we are the Flemish Games Association. We are part of Belgian Games, which is actually an association which represents all the regions in Belgium, the northern region, which is us, and then also our colleagues in Wallonia. We are founded in January 2013. We have approximately 70 members, most of which are game studios, but we represent the entire sector. We network and share. That's what we do a lot. We also do a lot of public affairs, of course. We lobby for a better economic environment for our industry. I'll talk about that a bit later on with some tax incentives. We do a lot of content marketing also. So please follow our Twitter, which is @Flega VZW. And we also have a website, flega.be. We communicate and we educate about our industry. We tell a lot of stories. You can find all the information about our companies and our industry on that website and on that Twitter. We also do a lot of market data collection and publication. I'll share some facts and figures with you very soon. We have a close collaboration with various regional support partners, and I'll talk about that a bit later too. Finally, but last but not least, we have a close collaboration with other regional and national trade associations for developers, but also for publishers, platform holders in Belgium, and also with ISFE, which is the International Software Federation of Europe, and PAGI, which you all know, it's the Pan-European Age Rating Institution. Both of those associations are headquartered in Brussels, so their people are literally walking around over here in Belgium. Some facts and figures. So we always collect data. We've been doing it since 2014. And at that time, we had 65 companies approximately in our ecosystem in Belgium. And look, we had a growth of 45% in 5 years. So we are at 95 companies right now, and the numbers are even higher for this year. We will have new facts and figures in September. I think it's going to be end of September when we will communicate those numbers. But look at the growth that we experienced during those 5 years. We also have growth in the full-time equivalents we represent. So this is a gross estimation. We started out in 2014 with about 400 FTEs, which means everyone that is working full-time, also freelancers. And we've been growing 175% in 4 years to reach 1,100. Those are the numbers for 2018. The 2019 numbers will be in, as I said, end of September. Turnover growth is really nice as well. We more than doubled when you look at 2012 and when you look at 2018, from 41 million euros to 93 million euros. We're a small business ecosystem in Belgium when you compare to other industries, but when you look at the growth and the numbers that we represent, it's very impressive, of course. The 2019 numbers will also be published end of September. I already said that we have a close collaboration with a lot of partners. Some of them are mentioned here. We have many more, but these are actually the most important ones. Of course, Flanders Investment and Trade, Dick already told you all about it. We work very closely with them for our promotion of our companies abroad, and of course to work with you guys coming inbound. We work with Flanders DC for gaming. Flanders DC is the district of creativity. They actually help all creative sectors in Flanders, and they do it with extensive entrepreneurship and business coaching, things you can also use. They have webinars and coaching and events around business development. They talk about financial planning, accountability, fiscality, marketing, and they really follow up on the latest trends. And in close contact with them, we make sure that their efforts are, how can I say this, video game proof. So it really has a relevancy for video game companies. You also have VAF, the Vlaams Audiovisueel Fund, Flemish Audiovisual Fund, but head of game department Yuri Lutz will tell you all about it right after my presentation. And then last but not least, Ho West, academic director Rick will tell you all about it later too. I will mention it one more time in my slides, but then I'll leave it up to Rick to explain you everything. We have some tax incentives in Flanders, actually some very interesting ones. I have the most important ones right here. You can always look up more information about those tax incentives on our website, flega.be. You just have to type in a few words and then you'll quickly find that blog post. Or if you see this presentation, if you can get it from the guys from FIT, you just have to click on the icons next to the text. So for instance, on the copyright icon, when you click on it, you will see more information. We have, for instance, a system where you can use transfer of copyrights, copyright ownership, which will result in wage costs going down from 50% to 15%, which actually makes a lot of difference when you employ people in Flanders. It's a system that's widely been used and also propagated. When you hire people that do research and development, you benefit up to 80% on wage costs for those persons in employment. And also there is what we call the innovation income deduction tax. We're very creative with tax incentive names in Flanders, but this actually means that for everything that's innovation in the product that you offer, and for video games this is often very much the case, you can get up to 85% of benefits on the wage costs that you would have to pay. So you go to an effective tax rate of only 4.4%. Something that we've been lobbying for quite a long time. I told you we do a lot of public affairs, a lot of lobbying. The tax shelter for audiovisual sector is something that has been in place in Flanders for a long time, well, and in Belgium entirely for a long time. It's actually a tax incentive for investors investing in audiovisual companies. And we are going to extend this to video games companies, which effectively means that you will be able to find investors quicker for your video game company. So we've been lobbying for it. It's some sort of you can look at it as a gap financing method for video game developers, but there's also return of investment for our government and creation of local employment, and also cross-media opportunities, because there are a lot of links between other creative companies, the other visual companies, and the video games companies. So this opens up a wide array of possibilities. Okay, and this is a rundown of other eye-catching USPs for our industry. First of all, we have a very, very big heritage of comic books. Maybe you know some of them. Tintin, which is the most famous, I think, worldwide, but you also have Suske en Wiske, Gust Vlater, De Hulde Hidde, Lucky Luke. All of those characters and scripts and storyboards have been invented in Belgium, and we carry that creativity and that storytelling, that narrative. We carry it with us, and this is very important. We're very good at this in translating it to video games. The big one, of course, I hope you all know these, and I think you all know them. Larian Studios. This is the biggest Flemish and Belgian studio there is. They're playing in the AAA League. They have this game coming up, Baldur's Gate 3, September 30th will be early access launch. They also launched Divinity Original Sin 2 and 1, of course. They have 5 satellite studios around the world, but they're still based in Ghent, in Flanders. And these guys bring some real energy and positivity and also knowledge and experience to our local industry. They employ also around 300 full-time equivalents all over the world. An interesting one also is Preview Labs. This is a company, they do rapid prototyping, so they can provide you with a very, very quick prototype of your game idea. They've been working with international universities on research projects, for example, an anti-smoking game in VR, but they've also been working with international video game companies such as Wargaming and Google. And they're not the only service provider that we have in Flanders. There are lots more, and Carl will tell you more about that too. So Preview Labs is a very interesting company for you. This is actually the company that Carl will explain you a bit more about. It's a Flemish company they were called Graphine, and now they have been acquired by Unity. I think it was in 2019 to be more precise. These guys have developed one of the most fast and highly efficient, memory efficient texture streaming technologies. They have been used in a lot of games for a lot of companies such as Wargaming and Funcom. But I'll let Carl talk about it more later on in this webinar. And then last but not least, of course, Ho West, which has been voted best gaming school in the world for 2 years in a row, actually. And these guys offer a lot of top talent. So you will have access to a lot of very, very highly skilled video game enthusiasts and students. And Rick will tell you all about it. That was it for me. Thank you very much. Don't forget to follow us, visit us on our website, and I will pass on the mic and the screen to Yuri from the Flemish Audiovisual Fund. Have a nice day.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm Yuri from VAF, so the Flemish Audiovisual Fund. We do project funding, so we don't do any company funding, just to be clear from the onset. One thing that we are proud of is that we do project funding tailored to the games industry. So I have been a gaming journalist for over 15 years, and I've been busy working in the gaming industry for almost 20 now. We like to tailor as much as we can, as much as is possible. And sometimes it's difficult within a funding system, but we're doing our best to make it as easy as possible for developers to get funding. I'm going to be short about this. I'm just going to give you the most essential information because I know there's still a lot to come in this presentation, and it's all about the money with us. So I'm just going to be clear and very direct about it. You can get up to 300K of money. That's a maximum amount on one project. We do pre-production, production, and promotion. That's quite different from some other funds in other countries. We want to do a lot of pre-production because we know that seed funding is one of the most difficult ones. It's the moment when no one believes in your game yet, or not a lot of people believe in your game yet, that you need the money the most just to get the ball rolling so you can get a prototype with a full gameplay loop, or you get a vertical slice that's even better to approach publishers and other investors that might not know as much about games as you do and other people do. So you need to convince them with a product that seems very polished already. So I'm talking about the vertical slice there. Also, promotion is something that's quite unique for Belgium, for Flanders. It's where we provide up to 50,000 euros to do the promotion of your video game. This is really necessary, as you know, because discoverability is one of the main issues that you have to deal with nowadays as a game maker, because so many games come out every single day. It's not limited to one project, so you can have multiple projects at the same time as one company. There's no limit to the amount of projects that you can have running, but of course we will look at it critically. You cannot do 5 projects at the same time, especially if it's at a big scale, if you're only 5 people. So it has to be balanced with the size of your company. We can do funding up to 50% for entertainment games, and we go even higher for serious games or for games with a social impact. I'm not going to delve into that, but if you're making games that are aimed at doing good and at having social impact, it might be very interesting to talk to us, because I think we're one of the only ones across the globe that really put up the goods when we offer you 85% of the budget in funding. We also have quite an easy application in English, so we can have people from abroad or people that come to Belgium and don't quite have mastered the Dutch language yet. They can apply in English, and that's of course a big plus if you don't come from Belgium yourself. There's also a big chance of success for experienced studios. It's about 50% across the board, but if you're an experienced studio, it can go up to 80% and maybe even 90% that you will be granted funding. We also offer free coaching and talent development. That's something that we're also quite proud of, is that when you are dealing with a certain issue, for example, you want to do a Kickstarter, we can provide coaches that have already done Kickstarter successfully, so they can help you get over the hurdles that are always there to speed up the learning process so that you don't have to make often expensive mistakes. And we can do this across the board. We have producers, we have people around the globe that can help you grow as fast as you can as a studio. We also have extra benefits for starting studios. Again, coaching plays a very important role into that. We will offer beginning studios a producer that will help them from A to Z making their first project, because we firmly believe that learning about game development, of course, it starts in specialized schools or maybe at home, just because you're passionate and you're learning it from YouTube, for example, from Unity. All of those things are available on the net. But what we want to offer is the opportunity to start a company really easily and to have soundboards surrounding you where you can ask questions, the most difficult questions about setting up a company, but especially also making a great game. Because a lot of people think it's easy to make a great game, but of course it's not. It's only the happy few that can really make an outstanding product. We also do a lot of crossovers with movie and TV industries, because we also provide funding for those sectors. And we have several events bringing together people from those industries. And we think it's really enlightening. We have a lot of people from the movie industry that wanted to make games, but it was not a possibility yet in Belgium at that time to study to make games. And now they're actually coming back to the medium because now they see the opportunities that lie ahead. And I think it's really interesting when it comes to camera angles, to storytelling. We can learn a lot from the movie industry and they can learn a lot from us. So just the cross-pollination is really interesting to see. So that's everything in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more to say and to tell, but we have a lot ahead of us. So if you have further questions, you can always reach me on juridoets@vaf.be. These details will obviously be shared with you later on as well by Fit. And now I'm happy, and it's an honor to introduce you to Rick Leenknecht. He's the principal of DAE, but most people know him as Master Chief, and there's a good reason for that.
Thank you for the introduction, Yuri, and thanks to Fit for giving me the chance to give this talk. I'm not going to talk about money, but about the role of human capital in developing ecosystems. So I'm the academic director of the Digital Arts and Entertainment curriculum, which is a curriculum, that the name almost says itself. We educate the best possible future employees for the entertainment industry. And I'm going to start by showing a small video of some student portfolio work to give an idea what we're doing at our university. The thing is, why I think the role of a university like Conheça and a curriculum like DIA is important in terms of developing ecosystems, specifically ecosystem for game industry or game technology industries. Almost all around the world, if you look whether it's game companies or other companies, where companies are investing or deciding to move business is where it's interesting in terms of funding and financial advantages, but also where there's a big enough supply of both quality and quantity in terms of employees. And that's, I think, where we come in. So we started this curriculum in 2006 after quite a thorough market study of the global game industry and specifically the needs of all the different game companies in terms of what is the most missing skills that you encounter while trying to make the best possible games. If you look at our trailer, not all the material on there is as stunning in terms of artwork as you might expect. That's because we're not focusing on creating the most beautiful artwork, but on educating our students to deal with the technical challenges of making it possible to create the best possible artwork for games or for film, which is quite a different approach. David and Yuri also mentioned us. We don't see ourselves as a typical school. We rather see ourselves part of the game industry than part of the educational system. So we offer a 3-year bachelor, which is an undergraduate program that I think by now we can call industry approved and award-winning. It's already been mentioned. We've been like the Rookies is an international competition that evaluates students' portfolio work in terms of how industry ready their work is. That's both Australia and UK based. In 2016 we were the 5th. We were first 2 times in a row. Last year we were 5th, and now we hope to be somewhere between 1 and 5 again, which I think makes us best so far in terms of track record in the Rookies competition. We have, although we're focused in Flanders, Belgium, we teach both Dutch and English, so we have an entirely global focus. We have over 1,200 students, of which close to 230 international ones from more than 30 different nationalities. So just with these numbers, I think we can state that we have both the quality and the quantity to make it interesting to start building an ecosystem. Just a small slide to show that in the Rookies, we actually compete with some big players out there. We were for GNOME in LA. We were ahead of Arts Academy San Francisco, University of Hertfordshire in the UK, which are basically quite renowned expensive international universities. So I think we have something to offer within our curriculum. This is just a list of the different nationalities that we had up to last year. We have an annual growth of close to 15% in terms of the number of international students that come here. And to clarify, these are not just Erasmus students like we call them. This is just degree-seeking students who come to Belgium to study for 3 or 4 years to get their digital arts and entertainment degree. We offer 6 majors, so entertainment for us is both film and games. I'm not going to dive into the curriculum. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to the digitalartsandentertainment.be website. But for film, we focus on either visual effects or 3D animation. 3D animation is brand new, starting this September for the first time. It's basically what you could call a technical animator. It's not traditional animation. It's an animator that can deal with the workflow of mocap data, who knows how a green studio setup works, things like that. So pretty technical. We have in the game majors, we have 2 majors that are focused on AAA. This is a game graphics production and game development. Name almost says itself. The first is a 3D artist for AAA games, game development, the gameplay programmer for AAA games. Independent game production is basically one of our most recent majors that is tailored to fit the needs of the indie scene. Working as a small indie company is something completely different than being part of a 300 people workforce that does AAA titles. The AAA curriculums we have are more task-oriented. The independent game production major is really product-oriented. You have to translate ideas into a fun and working prototype, come up with some budget calculations and things like that. And the sound design major is also brand new, starting first time this September, and I think is internationally quite unique in its kind because it really builds on top of our game development foundation, but just teaches the students to come up with the sound fitting the atmosphere and the story and the gameplay and things like that. It's mentioned above on top of the slide, it's 5.0. This means that this is basically, we're existing for 15 years now. This is the 5th version of our curriculum. So we're working almost on a day-to-day basis in close collaboration with the industry. And every time we feel the need of the industry for new technologies, when there's just new needs, maybe it's just a new engine popping up or a new tool popping up, then we just adapt and switch our curriculum in order to try to fit as best as possible the needs of the industry. Just one example where we can claim to be industry approved. Each year we have about 120, 130 final year students who have to do a 4-month internship. Each year we have an industry internship fair held on campus. Last year we had 62 companies of 7 different countries and a lot of AAA companies amongst them who just came to campus to get their first pick for our interns. It just points out, and something I'm going to try to mention quite a few more times, there's actually a war for talent going on. Even the big AAA studios are really putting more and more efforts in finding out where the best possible future talents are. This is just one of example that apparently we succeed in fulfilling the needs of all different companies, not only game AAA indie companies, but also game tech companies, VR companies, XR companies, things like that. More and more of those companies are actually asking to be able to get a first pick for our interns. And one of the goals that we have in terms of joining forces with all the people involved in this presentation and other organizations in Flanders is to combine forces and to try to keep more and more of that talent inside our region. So this brings me immediately to my next slide. So we have next to the curriculum, which is basically, our curriculum is basically why I picked the title for this presentation, Breeding Human Capital for the Game Tech Industry. So we have a curriculum and we learned and we noted and we know that we can educate the right people for the game tech industry, which is a little bit broader than just game industries. So on top of our curriculum, we added step by step the past years several initiatives that are all helping creating this ecosystem in the Flanders region. One of them is our research group. So we have quite a big research group that is basically working almost exclusively towards translating game technology to a non-gaming context and try to increase both the return on investment or the level of innovation in those companies. We did a lot of VR in the past, but now we're moving more towards future technologies, which I will dive into a couple more slides further. We have our own incubator and accelerator. Since we started the IGP, the Independent Game Production Curriculum, we also started promoting to our students that there are other options besides going to work for AAA studio, and we basically created our own incubator with several external commercial partners, which has basically only one goal, is to try to stimulate, support as much as possible any possible future game tech entrepreneur that wants to raise their business in the Flanders region. And the last initiative that is basically in one of the final stages of its conception phase is the Flanders Game Arena, where we basically want to combine all stakeholders, both educational, governmental, funding-wise, decision makers, into one platform that can basically make the region as a whole a more interesting place in terms of game technology. I'm going to dive quickly into each of these three. So our research team basically offers its services to the industry, and then the industry is very small, very early startups. One or two startup companies can just throw their technology questions in our basket, and we're going to try to help them as good as possible. Sometimes we do support of fundamental research for the more theoretical academic research papers, where we're pretty good at making demonstrators to show what the possible outcome of some fundamental research could be. But the thing we like to do best, is to drive or to stimulate innovation in companies that are still on the verge of having to implement game technology in their business, and that is a lot of machine manufacturing. Like Flanders is known worldwide for its heavy machine manufacturing industry. So we've been working with a lot of those companies together in order to boost, speed up, increase the level of, for instance, XR technology in their production process, the training of employees, things like that. Just a pretty short list of fields in which we are doing or have done research. But basically, if you go to the list, we strongly believe that game technology can be an added value for any sector, any industry. You just have to look for the opportunities and try to come up with a good implementation depending on the specific cases. And this is basically what we're specialized in, trying to find the best possible opportunities, the best possible technology, the best possible solution, depending on the questions that the companies are asking us. I mentioned that we used to do a lot of VR, but now we are doing a lot of machine learning and conversational AI, because the skill or a lot of virtual applications, whether it's games or applied games, require interaction with some non-playing characters or things like that. So to have a seamless, fluent conversation with avatars is something that we're putting a lot of effort in. We do a lot of procedure 3D. Motion capture and post tracking is one of our very dedicated topics at the moment, because there's very few non-game companies that are going to invest in a full-blown mocap green key studio setup, because it's way too expensive for their type of business. So we're trying to translate what a professional set up in an entertainment company, how it can be translated to an affordable setup that matches the needs of the non-gaming industry. Ray tracing is also one of those topics, immersive technologies, location-based entertainment, also applied gaming, things like that. Just some examples of projects that we've been doing, like Exer Games is pretty hot at the moment in Flanders in Belgium. So we do a lot of experiments to see how we can combine digital game technology with as a means to get more people moving, get different target groups moving more than they're used to do. This is a nice example. We had a hospital in Flanders who was basically struggling in training their employees in basic safety instructions. So in a 2-year European research project, we did a huge co-creation process and came up with a serious game that was aimed at fire prevention, safety instructions for a hospital that was actually deployed in 8 different hospitals and is now a quite successful startup company within our accelerator. This is just an example of what we do a lot, co-creation. You have a question, we start a co-creation process, and then depending on the outcome of this co-creation phase, we either work towards an innovation track with our accelerator, or we just start a research project or things like that. For cultural heritage, we do a lot. This was one of the projects where we experiment with starting from CAD and 3D scan data, turned an old flax machine, Kortrijk, where we are located, was basically the center of the flax industry. So we turned this existing rusty machine into an interactive simulation that is actually now on display in the museum, where you can interact with it and you can see how it used to work. And we do that for several different other cases as well. Training, like the machine manufacturing industry, we did a lot of VR training in the past. For us, this is basically just 100% game technology, but applied to a non-gaming context. And this is also being turned into a startup company within our accelerator, who is now basically offering VR training as a product to non-game companies. This is just a short slide to indicate what we do with AI Studios, which is basically not West, it's a separate entity, but we either incubate young students, graduates who want to just start up their own studio, and we guide them and support them in that process, or we offer innovation tracks towards companies where we help them experimenting with new technologies and how it fits in their business model. And then last, the Flanders Game Arena is basically, we are located in Kortrijk, so we include the city level, some governmental organizations like LEDAL, which is basically a local funding organization. We have the FAF, we have Flanders DC, VOCA is the Chamber of Commerce. We deal with Fit for this. We have a lot of stakeholders here in the region that we all are trying to align in order to create a significant return on investment for everybody and every entity that is willing to invest in settling themselves in the area. It's basically, the goal is to create brain gain to the region. The experience learns that like-minded people like to stick together, so we want to be a competent school of game technology, and by centering as many as possible activities in the region dedicated to game technology, we seriously think that we can increase the brain gain, and the more people stick to our region, the more value we will have for all people involved. I tried to stick to my 50 minutes. I think that's pretty close. So you can get in touch with me by going through my slide. I realized that I didn't put the URL of our website on it. I will make sure that it's being shared afterwards. And and I will be available for questions afterwards. Next speaker in line is Karl Callewaert of the company Unity, which basically is one of the main tools that we are teaching with. He's the Global Director of Technical Marketing, and I'm going to give the floor to Karl.
Thank you so much, Rick, and everybody. I'm very lucky to present here Unity Technologies. And my name is Karl Callewaert. I work already almost 10 years at Unity. Through the presentation that we saw, most of the applications and most of the stories you hear has been empowered by Unity. Unity, what is Unity? I'm going to cover what is Unity and also how we are connected to Belgium. Unity is the world's leading platform for creating and operating interactive real-time 3D. Our platforms provides a comprehensive set of software solutions to create and operate interactive real-time 3D and 2D for mobile, tablets, PC, console, augmented and virtuality devices. If you know already Unity, in this presentation you will also see some more of our data points, how we empower and how far we are reaching and enabling creators to reach their users. We believe the world is a better place with more creators in it. That is actually at the center of us, of serving creators, and that's in the heartbeat of our company. It motivates everybody in our company to serve the global creator community, to help solve the toughest problems of engineering, data, operational problems, so that digital creators can create and operate real-time 3D experiences. I'm talking here about real-time 3D, and let me explain a little bit what real-time 3D is and why it's so important. What's real-time 3D? What was static will become interactive. Instead of a static image, you can move things around right away in the environment. What was asynchronous will be real-time. In this scene, for instance, you can actually move everything around. You can move the tree, move the ground, move the rocks, and everything is real-time calculated. Shadows are real-time updated. You don't need to wait for the rendering. So actually, we're going from 2D also to 3D. It's really augmenting that information. Real-time coming in there, augmenting. We are actually a very comprehensive tool set we give the developers around the world the tools and the technology to create and solutions to operate so they can succeed in the real world. And our runtime is being connected to and brings all those platforms together. So it's not just about creating content, but keep your content going. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about our create. And we allow creators to create like worlds, 3D worlds, 2D worlds, but also we empower them to have the workflows to do that. Even when you're a beginner, we allow you to get started with brand new content, creating brand new. But if you're an advanced user, we really help you and enable you to strive for AAA fidelity. And that's why we see we made a great traction for and our game developers to reach a lot of people. We enable people to build their experiences on more than 20 platforms, such as console, mobile games. And we have about 1.5 million actively creators. If you think about it, the reach of our the people that use our software, our creators, 53% of the top 1,000 grossing mobile games are empowered by Unity on a global scale. So to give our users the biggest reach and getting the most audiences to monetize, that's why we enable them to, in one click, to build on more than 20 different platforms. And in that you can see some of the success stories. If you think about big hits like Call of Duty, who sold more than 100 million on the first week. Arena of Valve is boosting more than about 100 million registered players. And the Mario Tour Kart, who was number one on the iOS game store in 2019, were all made with Unity. And that's really pushing the boundaries of real-time 3D. Unity also is building the future for XR. If you think about it, Pokemon Go, the AR game, it was a global sensation. It's been downloaded more than 1 billion times. And in fact, it was its most profitable year was actually in 2019, 3 years later after its initial launch. And that's about not just in creating, but making sure that the game can go and operate. Companies like Coca-Cola used the company tactic to actually augment their campaign for Coca-Cola, bringing the brand to life with the Coca-Cola polar bear family. We recently built on Unity a new technology called Mars to enable beginners to work with AR and VR. And that's an nice example is like the Dr. Zoe's brands enterprise. They recently announced the ABC. It's an amazing AR augmented reality experiences that meant is to teach kids on learning the English alphabet. I want to really quickly point out that the technology that you're learning with Unity, if you go to Howest, that's not only just for learning games as he expressed, but it's also enabling you in other vertical markets. The real-time 3D has been used more than 2 decades into the gaming industry, but it now allows us to drive a massive impact in other markets. And we see that in M&A, media entertainment, architecture, automotive, constructions. And large brands like Pixar, Disney, Volvo, BMW, Haskell, all are using Unity to interact with their customers. Yes, this is a staggering number. We saw apps made with Unity downloaded 3 billion times just in 2019. And let's talk a bit more about operate. It's not just about creating, but operating. And in operating, it's actually at the core of our values that we want that you can create content and effectively operate your business. And we are providing a complete full stack solution for development, engagement, and ongoing management. You can actually enter the ecosystem anywhere and succeed depending on your unique business goals. What's very important for us is that we don't lock you in one size fits all or in an ecosystem, and that you can actually use any of those services as standalone or together with your own technology. A nice example is from operating is monetization. You want to have in-app purchases in your game so you can serve ads for that, so you can drive revenue from that. Another one is that you want to acquire and grow your user base, and you can use Unity Ads for that. Unity Ads is the third largest mobile network beyond Facebook and Google, and we serve about 23 billion ads per month for that. With engaging, you want that the players engage. They want them to be able to talk to each other, and we enable that through Vivox. And if you look at the next slide, there we can see some of examples of that we really operate on a holistic level. Those are here all games and companies who used Unity's operation model, built on technology that was not made with Unity, with their own engine. And a nice example is that for League of Legends, Apex Legends, Hi-Res are all using that. Fortnite has leveraged Unity's user acquisition to grow its base. It's also Vivox, the low latency voice of internet that we provide. And we powered the Travis Scott concert in Fortnite, which reportedly had 12.3 million people who turned in. About a year ago, League of Legends reported that 10 million actively voiced users from 170 countries initiated 50 million voice conversations per week. And that was enabled through our Vivox technology. Yes, I always believe that a bonfire, people come together to talk, is the same for multiplayer. And the best player experiences are shared experiences. This is why multiplayer games are always in the top charts. In 2019, we saw a monthly average over 120 million end-user communications across platforms using Unity voice technology and texting service. We also want to always empower our users to reach much as possible users with using Unity Ads, and that runs on Unity iOS and Android. You can easily monetize your existing player base and fuel your player acquisition strategy by advertising your game across the world's largest gaming community. And in 2020, by this year, by June, we had already 22 billion average monthly ads impression worldwide. We had 2.4 billion average numbers of players games with Unity installed, and also 164 million average daily players viewing Unity ads globally. That shows you the scale, how far you can reach. No, it's not about games always. It's also about industrial. So an example is Shop Architects. Shop Architect is using a Unity Reflect. It's also a product in our AEC. It's been and they used this software to utilize to design the 9K tower. It's a residential tower coming in Brooklyn, New York. And they use Reflect because in there they can help the stakeholders to communicate and construct planning for this massive landmark. In the industrial world, also Volvo and Vario are combining their efforts together and partnering to enable self-driving with augmented reality headset that you could actually eventually wear in the headset, and you look through the camera and you can see the real world, but it's augmented. Like for instance, if an animal walks on the street, it detects that and takes a self-driving so you don't have an accident. And another example of that is the Unity and NVIDIA collaborated with BMW to showcase the 29 BMW 8 Series Coupe to real-time ray tracing. There was a 3D model done in Unity with ray tracing, and there was a picture taking from a real BMW next to each other. You could not see the differences. That allows you to launch and visualize a model and get feedback before the launch. And I just want to highlight, like here, Shadowgun Games was made by Mad Finger Games. They've been one of our early customers, and their games have netted more than 10 million downloads. And in there, they're using all that technology from machine learning, multiplay, VVOX, ads to bring the game successful. So you can see Unity goes from architecture, automotive, AEC to games. Yeah, it's also in use in the films. The team at Magnopus leveraged Unity to enable the director Jon Favreau, who made The Jungle Book, also Iron Man, to shoot Lion King in VR, as if they were real on the set. Unity's real-time 3D technology enabled the team to experience and ensure they achieved a final frame that matches the creativity visions of the director. Another example is Sherman. It's one of our first movie files that we made with Unity that shows the real-time capacity, so you don't have to render it. It's all real-time, and in there we actually showed also very technically how far real-time works, and HDRP visual effects graph. And then in XR, big labels like Spotify, they announced the launch of the augmented reality version of a music streaming app with on Magic Leap using Unity too. But as we heard in the presentations, social impact is very important. So we also support on social impact. And that's why we collaborated with the Vision 3D and Philippe Cousteau to actually create an experience that sheds a light on the implications of plastic in the ocean. So all those applications are using Unity as the backend. Now, quickly, let's get to the point here. So we are based in 190 countries around the world. Unity is being created by creators. So it's a really broad impact. Our company has been growing. When I joined, we were around 100 people. We are in the several thousands of people now around the world. We have 45 offices in 17 countries. And as you can see on the slide listed, number one is Belgium. We have an office in Ghent. It's called Unity Ghent. We acquired a company called Graphine, who was a spin-off of the university. So it's a nice example how the university ecosystem in Belgium spins off high technology companies. We were introduced by Fit to the company. And so that's how we got in contact. The company is specialized in texture compression and texture streaming and became fully part of the Unity family. So everybody transitioned over to Unity. It's not about just acquiring the technology, but acquiring the talent and the knowledge that is out there. So in the neighborhood, there are a lot of universities. And then as we had presentations here already about that, I'm not going to go too deep in that. But what's really beautiful is that Unity technology allows you not to reach only game players, but also in the industrial. Flanders is a hotbed of all industrial applications made, and companies who are using Unity and are looking for companies to help them on Unity solutions to solve problems for the industrial applications. Each time I visit the region, we visit tons of industrial companies looking for help. And I want to show you two highlights of that. So Antwerp, who's one of the largest port in Europe and in the world actually, is using Unity. And how they do that as a digital twin. They have the full port modeled in 3D. They look at every model and they can look with cameras and overlaying the 3D in the real world. And that's an example how Unity has been used in Flanders in all different directions. So another example is like, hey, training somebody to do driving a forklift is expensive. Hey, you don't want to have accidents on that. And there was also an example created here in the Flanders about sitting in a forklift fully in VR and immersed, where you can actually learn how to drive a forklift. It's much cheaper and more effective, and you learn faster because you can make mistakes. In the real world, you cannot make a mistake. What's really cool is that even as a game studio, you can diversify always your portfolio. Unity enables you to not only make games, but go after every applications. And a nice example of that is next slide, is what we see is Walrus, Cybernetic Walrus. I think it's also a spin-off of one of the schools in Belgium. They created actually a game, very successful, but using also the tools they built on Unity for industrial applications. So they have diverse portfolio and are being successful in a landscape in the Flanders on a global scale by creating games and also serving the local needs for industrial applications. So with this, I want to thank you and check out always unity3d.com, where you can find more information. You can always stay in touch with me by emailing me at carl@unity3d.com. Super simple.
Okay, so thanks a lot for all the attendees that still with us. I select some questions, so I'm going to read and put in the chat just to be easier. So the first one is for David from Flanders. And the question is, there is any program about remote work benefits or something in this direction? And there is another one to David as well that I will put here, that we have an animation studio developing original IPs. Is there any opportunity in terms of collaboration with game studios from Flanders, or funding to be accessed into development of cross-media products?
For the first question, so the question about remote work, there is actually, this is something you will have to discuss with the company itself. Remote work, for instance, is really no problem at all for the moment because of the COVID situation, of course. But there are a lot of companies that I know of that work with freelancers abroad or in a remote location. They don't have to be at the office. But this is something you really have to talk about with the company itself. And there are no special benefits, as far as I'm aware of, for remote working if you want to look at it at employment level or something. Of course, there are some work-life balance benefits to it. I hope that answers the question. The second question is, okay, if you have an animation studio and you want to work with game companies, yes, there are possibilities. There are always game companies looking to diversify their IP. So maybe they would want to make an animation series from the game. There are also some companies already doing it themselves. What I would suggest is that this person emails me and I can bring them in contact with some companies that would possibly be interested in this. So I think my email address will be shared via Fit. So just email me and I will put you in contact with some companies in Flanders.
I will maybe also contribute because they're also asking about funding.
Yes.
To be accessed, aimed for cross-media.
Yeah.
We do have some examples of animation studios already doing games together with game studios, and we are working on several co-productions, so within Belgium or also abroad. So if you want to talk about co-productions, whether you are here or you are in Brazil, both are possible.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, does Howes University offer postgraduate courses in game audio? Is there a special scholarship program for Brazilians?
In game audio, not yet, since this the new sound design major is brand new and starting this semester. We're building up this curriculum, so next year we'll have the first year, the year after we'll have the second year, and then the third year. So it will take 3 years before the first sound designers will graduate. So for the moment we have no postgraduate courses in game audio. And scholarship programs for Brazilians, I should pick this up with some of my colleagues just to double check. I have no idea for that at the moment. I will write down the question. It depends on what agreements the Flemish government has.
Okay, there's another one that's from Bruna. What programs, courses, lines, or of research have women as a significant part of them?
I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. Like we have, like in terms of if we have the 6 majors, the most of the female students we have in global are about 17% of our students are female. Most of them are in the VFX animation and GGP course. In VFX and animation, it's close to 50-50. On the game dev side of the curriculum, very few women choose the game dev side. So in global, 17%. But the more graphical, the more creative the major, the more women choose that one.
So the next one is to Carl. The question is, any resource or plan to create tools, assets to rapidly prototype and test AR, MR inside Unity?
Yes, we actually have just released, I'm going to type it in here. It's called a Mars. And I will look up the link for that. It's an application that's built on top of it that allows you to actually test it within the editor, so that you don't have to do a build to a device, but that you actually can do it right away into the editor. I'm fully aware that sometimes it's very difficult in Brazil to get the latest VR devices. So that's why we also enable direct in the editor thing. You can check it out. It's called Mars.
Okay, thank you. And another one to Yuri. Is there a definition of the technologies used in the game to define whether they can be part of the pólo, or can they use any technological basis? I ask this because our audio development playful games to be played via the browser. In this game model included in all the benefits of it. I ask this because funding is our greatest interest in, as we need a base in Europe to expand. I think Yuri is the...
Well, yes, it's a particular case. We have had games in the past that were running on browsers, and it's also something that will be part of the ecosystem, of course. We're getting into a world of streaming. So, yes, we will probably evolve into that. And I think we will, if it's a good game, we would allow it. Yes.
Okay. I think we're fine for questions. I don't know if you guys would like to wrap up before we end.
Well, I would like to thank you, Marina, for organizing this. I think it has been extremely useful for all parts involved. So first of all, we got the chance to explain what we can do, what we can offer. But we also learned a lot during this Q&A session about really what the burning questions are from your side. So we understood you're going to have this webinar now running on your platform. So we do expect some more feedback and some more interaction. For us, it's the same. If there's specific questions, they can always address directly either to Flega, to Howest. Just maybe keep us in the loop, as we like the filter from Belgium to Brazil and from Brazil to Belgium. But we're eager to help you, as our ambassador said already in the beginning. In Belgium, we don't only have the triple helix, but it's in fact a quadruple helix, because also the cultural aspect kicks in, where we also have quite something to offer. So I think I can speak in the name of everybody, saying that we're really looking forward. Some seeds have been planted today, and we really are looking forward to harvest something in the near future, being both sides of the ocean. So we're always here to guide guys out, so we can always repeat or delve into some specific topics. So we're here to help you guys out.
Okay, so thank you again, and see you guys